There comes a time in every person's life when the mirror stops reflecting only a face. It starts reflecting a question. Is this really who I want to be? Transformation is not about changing your looks. It's about changing your choices, your habits, and your direction. Becoming unrecognizable means shedding the version of yourself that settles, that doubts, and stepping into the version that acts, grows, and leads. Life isn't asking you to be perfect, it's asking you to progress. A seed doesn't look like a tree, yet inside that seed lies a forest. In the same way, inside you lies a version you haven't met yet. Stronger, wiser, more focused, more peaceful. But to meet that version, you must be willing to outgrow the one you are now. Change begins when you stop negotiating with your excuses. Excuses have a softness that comforts you, but they also have a grip that holds you back. Growth starts the moment you say, I'm done living the same year repeatedly. You become unrecognizable when you stop explaining your goals to people who don't understand your vision. Not everyone will clap for you, and that's okay. You are not building a life for approval. You are building a life for purpose. You become unrecognizable when you start controlling your reactions. Not everything deserves your anger, your energy, or your attention. Peace is not given. Peace is built slowly, intentionally, one wise choice at a time. And most importantly, you become unrecognizable when you start walking in silence, but working with intensity. Let people notice the results, not the noise. Let them wonder how you suddenly became so disciplined, so calm, so focused. Let your transformation speak louder than your explanations. The first step toward becoming unrecognizable is rooted in an inner dialogue that most people avoid: self-honesty. It is easy to tell the world who you are, but it is difficult to admit to yourself who you have become. True transformation does not begin when you buy a new notebook, when you join a gym, or when you listen to motivational speeches. It begins the moment you look within and acknowledge that the life you are living today is a direct reflection of the choices you made yesterday. When you allow yourself to see this truth without excuses, without blame, and without sugarcoating, you unlock the foundation of real change. Of real change. Most people live in a comfortable fog, aware that something is wrong, yet unwilling to name it. They feel the weight of their procrastination, but call it, I'll start tomorrow. They feel the heaviness of bad habits, but label it, I'm trying. They sense the loss of time, but insist, I'm still young. This gentle self-lying is what keeps them stuck in the same patterns for years. To transform, you must be willing to pull away the comforting blanket of denial and face the raw reality of your choices. It is not about criticizing yourself. It is about confronting the truth so you can finally outgrow it. Self-honesty is uncomfortable because it forces you to acknowledge that you are not giving your best effort. It reveals the gap between who you are and who you want to be. It exposes the wasted hours, the broken routines, the distractions you willingly entertained, and the opportunities you quietly ignored. But the same discomfort becomes your greatest teacher. When you admit, I am responsible for where I am, you also gain the power to decide, I can change where I'm going. That shift in mindset is the birthplace of transformation. When you sit with yourself in silence and honestly evaluate your life, patterns start to reveal themselves. You notice that your lack of discipline is not because you are incapable, but because you have not prioritized growth. You realize that your frustration with life is not because the world is unfair, but because you are still living on autopilot. You see that your dreams haven't moved closer because you haven't moved closer. This clarity can feel harsh, but it is the medicine that removes illusions and awakens strength. The truth is that self-honesty builds courage. When you admit that your habits do not match your ambitions, you gain the power to take action. When you accept that you have been repeating the same mistakes, you finally gain the wisdom to break the cycle. When you acknowledge that you are capable of more, you become willing to demand more from yourself. Transformation is not about hating the old you. It is about understanding the old you so deeply that you cannot remain the same. It takes maturity to say, I need to do better. It takes strength to say, I have been avoiding the work. And it takes wisdom to say, I am ready to grow. These statements do not weaken you. They liberate you. Because once you see your truth, you can no longer hide behind excuses. You step out of the comfort of who you have been and step into the responsibility of who you can become. This is where becoming unrecognizable truly begins. With the willingness to face the mirror not just to see your reflection, but to see your reality, self-honesty is the moment the real journey starts. There is a powerful truth that many people forget. The greatest version of you already exists within you. It is not something you need to import from the outside world. It is something you need to uncover from within. Just as a sculptor looks at a raw block of marble and sees the statue hidden inside, life invites you to see the extraordinary potential hidden beneath your current limitations, fears, and habits. The process of becoming unrecognizable begins when you understand that growth is not about adding something new. It is about revealing what was always there. Every person carries within them a collection of untapped strengths, dormant talents, and unexplored destinies. But for most people, these remain buried under years of self-doubt, societal expectations, and the fear of judgment. The world often teaches you to look outside for validation, inspiration, and meaning, while forgetting that the most powerful source of transformation lies inside you. When you turn inward, you discover a deeper reservoir of resilience, courage, creativity, and discipline than you ever thought possible. Imagine a seed. It contains within it the blueprint of a massive tree, but it doesn't grow until the conditions are right. Similarly, your inner potential is waiting for the right environment, discipline, intention, belief, and effort. The moment you start feeding your mind with clarity instead of confusion, your habits with consistency instead of chaos, and your heart with courage instead of fear, you begin to activate that hidden version of yourself. Suddenly, life doesn't feel like an uphill battle. It becomes a process of unfolding. People often underestimate themselves because they judge their future by their present limitations. They say, I don't have what it takes, not realizing that what it takes is already inside them. It just hasn't been activated yet. A person doesn't become confident by magically acquiring confidence from somewhere outside. They become confident when they start keeping promises to themselves. A person doesn't become wise by memorizing quotes. They become wise by reflecting deeply on their own experiences. Everything you need to become your stronger version begins the moment you believe that it is possible. The growth is often uncomfortable because it requires shedding the layers that no longer serve you. You have to remove the doubts that whisper you can't, the habits that drain your energy, and the relationships that dim your light. When you peel away these layers, your authentic, powerful self begins to emerge. You start making decisions from clarity, not insecurity. You begin taking steps guided by purpose, not pressure. Your actions start aligning with the person you want to become, not the person you once were. The key is understanding that transformation happens internally first. Long before the world sees your progress, you feel it inside you. You feel it in the way you think, the way you speak to yourself, and the way you respond to challenges. You begin noticing that your perspective is shifting. You start focusing on growth instead of excuses, progress instead of perfection, and effort instead of outcomes. That shift in internal awareness is the first sign that the more powerful version of you is awakening. Every great transformation begins quietly on the inside before it becomes visible on the outside. Just like the sun rises before the world sees its light, your growth begins before anyone notices your change. When you honor that internal evolution, when you nurture the potential inside you with patience and discipline, you eventually become unrecognizable even to your past self-taught. Excuses are one of the most silent yet powerful barriers to transformation. They don't shout, they don't force, and they don't fight. Instead, they whisper gently, offering comfort disguised as logic. They tell you that you're tired. Tomorrow is a better day to start. That others have it easier. That you're not ready. That one more hour of delay won't hurt. And without realizing it, those soft whispers become the chains that hold you exactly where you are. Excuses feel like protection, but in reality, they are a trap that keeps your potential locked away. Every person, no matter how talented or capable, has moments when excuses try to take control. It's natural. The mind prefers comfort over effort, familiarity over change, safety over challenge. But the truth is, every excuse you accept today steals a piece of your progress tomorrow. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they allow excuses to shape their decisions. Transformation demands discipline, and discipline requires the courage to rise above the comfortable stories you tell yourself. When excuses become a habit, They start shaping your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who just can't stay consistent, or someone who isn't meant for big things, or someone who is taught when life gets easier. These narratives become self-fulfilling. Self-fulfilling. The more you repeat excuses, the more you start believing them. And once you believe them, you stop challenging them. This is why excuses are dangerous, not because they slow you down, but because they convince you that staying where you are is acceptable. To truly grow, you must challenge the excuses as they appear. When your mind says, I'm too tired, ask yourself whether you're tired or simply unmotivated. When it says, I'll do it later, remind yourself that later is a place where dreams go to die. When it says it's too difficult, remind yourself that difficulty is the gateway to transformation. Every time you reject an excuse, you strengthen a muscle within you, the muscle of discipline. Discipline is not about being harsh on yourself. It's about being committed to your evolution. It means choosing progress even when you don't feel like it. It means showing up even when motivation fades. It means making decisions based on your goals, not your moods. The more disciplined you become, the quieter the excuses become. Over time, the voice of excuses grows weaker while the voice of purpose grows stronger. What many people don't realize is that excuses often emerge from fear. Fear of failure, fear of discomfort, fear of judgment, fear of uncertainty. When you expose these fears instead of running from them, they lose their influence. Growth requires you to step into these fears and act anyway. The moment you do, you reclaim control over your life. You stop allowing emotions to dictate your progress and begin living from a place of intention. Every great transformation in life begins when you start replacing excuses with action. Not perfect action, not massive action, just consistent action. Even small steps become powerful when repeated daily. Small progress compounds, small efforts accumulate, small changes create big breakthroughs. And suddenly, the version of you that once relied on excuses becomes unrecognizable, replaced by someone who chooses discipline over comfort, purpose over delay, and growth over fear. This is how you break the cycle, by refusing to let excuses have the last word in your life. Your environment plays a deeper role in your elevation than most people are willing to admit. While dreams are born within you, they are shaped, nurtured, or suffocated by the people and surroundings around you. Many individuals stay stuck not because they lack talent or ambition, but because they continually share their dreams with people who either don't understand them or don't want them to grow. The truth is, not everyone around you is meant to walk with you into your next chapter. And the sooner you accept this, the smoother your transformation becomes. When you share your goals with the wrong people, they respond with limitations disguised as wisdom. They say things like, be realistic, don't aim too high, or people like us don't achieve things like that. These aren't always meant to hurt you, but they often come from their own fears, insecurities, and past failures. Without realizing it, their doubts become a silent weight on your wings. Eventually, you begin shrinking your dreams to match their expectations. You stop taking risks because you fear judgment. You stop believing in your own potential because you're surrounded by individuals who don't believe in themselves. The environment you choose determines the energy you absorb. Negative people drain you, discourage you, and distract you. They pull your focus toward gossip, competition, and comparison instead of growth. They question your efforts whenever you try to change, because your transformation reminds them of their stagnation. On the other hand, supportive and growth-minded individuals push you, motivate you, and inspire you. They challenge you to aim higher and celebrate your progress, even when it's small. When you surround yourself with such people, growth becomes natural. Elevation requires understanding that your vision is yours alone. Not everyone is supposed to see it, agree with it, or support it. Some people are placed in your life for comfort, not growth. Some are meant for memories, not for the future. When you rely too much on their approval, you unintentionally hand over the steering wheel of your life. You begin walking paths that please others instead of the path that fulfills your purpose. A powerful shift happens when you stop explaining, stop defending, and stop seeking validation. Stop seeking validation. You begin moving silently, steadily, and confidently toward your goals. Protecting your dreams doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means being selective. You don't need a crowd. You need a circle, one that uplifts you, challenges you, and keeps you accountable. Even if that circle consists of only one or two people, the right environment can transform your mindset. Sometimes the environment isn't just people, it's your daily habits, the content you consume, the places you spend time, and the routines you follow. Everything you surround yourself with is either feeding your growth or feeding your stagnation. The moment you become intentional about your environment, you start to notice subtle changes. Your thinking becomes clearer, your energy becomes lighter, your decisions become sharper. You find it easier to stay focused, easier to stay disciplined, easier to stay motivated. You stop entertaining negativity because it no longer aligns with the person you are becoming. And slowly, you rise to a level that the old environment cannot reach. That is when you become unrecognizable, not because you changed who you were, but because you changed who you listened to, who you trusted, and who you allowed near your vision. Your environment is not just where you are. It is who you allow yourself to become. Silent progress is one of the most powerful forms of transformation because it allows your growth to mature without distraction, resistance, or unnecessary noise. In a world where everyone feels the pressure to announce their goals, publicize their plans, and broadcast their every move, choosing silence becomes a rare and meaningful strength. When you work quietly, you protect your focus from external opinions, doubts, and negativity. You allow your actions to develop naturally, without interference from those who may not understand your vision or may secretly hope you fail. People often mistake silence for inactivity, but silence is actually the birthplace of the deepest progress. Seeds grow in darkness before they ever touch the light. Babies grow in silence before they ever enter the world. Ideas grow quietly before they become inventions. Follows the same pattern. It becomes strong in silence so it can stand firm when others finally notice it. The moment you stop announcing your moves, you stop inviting unnecessary judgment. You stop seeking validation. You stop making excuses. You begin working for your future instead of for applause. Many dreams are destroyed not because the dreamer lacked talent or discipline, but because they shared their plans too early with people who had no intention of supporting them. When you speak too soon, you give others the chance to project their fears onto your future. They may discourage you, question your abilities, or remind you of your past mistakes. These comments, even when subtle, can plant doubt in your mind. Doubt weakens momentum, and weakened momentum slows progress. But when you stay silent, you protect your momentum from the heavy weight of unnecessary opinions. Silent progress also keeps you grounded. When you talk too much about what you want to do, you may feel a sense of satisfaction as if you have already achieved it. This creates a psychological illusion that reduces your drive to actually take action. But when you remain quiet, you keep the hunger alive. Silence keeps you thirsty. It keeps you focused. It keeps you committed. Instead of celebrating early through words, you save the celebration for the moment your results speak for you. Another powerful aspect of silent progress is that it builds confidence from within rather than from external praise. When people don't know what you're doing, you stop performing for them. You start performing for yourself. You begin measuring your progress by effort rather than approval. You begin trusting your own judgment rather than relying on others. This internal validation is stronger and more stable than anything someone else could give you. Moreover, silence gives you space to grow without pressure. When nobody knows your goals, you are free to make mistakes, adjust your plans, and learn at your own pace. You don't feel watched. You don't feel rushed. You don't feel judged. This freedom allows you to explore new possibilities and evolve naturally. Progress becomes a personal journey rather than a public performance. Eventually, your growth becomes undeniable. People begin to notice your discipline, your clarity, your confidence, your results, without ever knowing the effort that shaped them. They start asking how you changed, when you changed, what inspired your change. And the beauty of silent progress is that by the time they notice, you are already far ahead. Silent progress is not about secrecy, it is about protection. It is about understanding that your transformation deserves privacy, patience, and peace. And when you honor that, you become unrecognizable not because you spoke loudly, but because you worked quietly. One of the clearest signs of true transformation is emotional control. It is easy to act strong, speak wisely, and appear composed when life is smooth. But the real test of who you are becoming shows itself when situations challenge your patience, provoke your emotions, or trigger old habits. Many people waste years of their lives reacting impulsively, arguing unnecessarily, and allowing every small disturbance to derail their peace. Emotional control doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you learn how to guide your feelings rather than be guided by them. Life will always give you moments that test your temperament, unexpected problems, harsh words from others, disappointments, delays, betrayals, misunderstandings. These moments are not designed to destroy you. They are designed to reveal you. If every small inconvenience can shake you, then your growth is shallow. But when you reach a point where you pause before reacting, when you choose thoughtfulness over impulse, and when you protect your peace instead of defending your ego, that is when your transformation becomes truly visible. Emotional control begins with awareness. Most people react without thinking because they have never paused long enough to understand their triggers. They don't realize how certain words, certain environments, or certain people activate old emotional patterns. When awareness increases, so does your power. You start noticing anger rising before it explodes. You recognize anxiety forming before it overwhelms you. You sense irritation building before it turns into conflict. This awareness creates a critical moment, a gap where you have the opportunity to choose a response. That gap is where growth happens. In that gap, you can breathe instead of break. You can think instead of attack. You can reflect instead of react. Mastering that small moment gives you an immeasurable advantage in life. Emotional control doesn't make you weak or silent. It makes you wise and centered. It shows that you have reached a level of maturity where your peace holds more value than winning an argument, proving a point, or reacting to every provocation. When you learn to control your emotions, you stop giving away your power. Every time you react impulsively, you hand your emotional state to someone else. You allow them to dictate how you feel, how you think, and how you behave. But when you stay calm, people lose the ability to manipulate your peace. Situations lose the power to shake your balance. You begin to stand tall in your inner stability instead of collapsing under emotional pressure. This is how strength quietens the world around you. Emotional control is also a powerful form of self-respect. When you choose not to react, you are not suppressing your emotions. You are protecting your dignity. You are choosing to rise above pettiness, negativity, and childish drama. You are proving to yourself that your emotional world is governed from within, not disrupted from outside. The better you control your reactions, the more respected you become by others and by yourself. And gradually, emotional control rewires your life. You stop engaging in unnecessary arguments. You stop allowing toxic people to drain you. You stop letting small problems ruin big days. You start thinking long-term instead of living in the heat of the moment. You start responding with clarity instead of confusion. You start saving your energy for the things that deserve it. This is when people begin noticing a change they can't fully explain. They see your calmness, your patience, your stability, your maturity, and they realize that you're not the person you used to be. That is how emotional control makes you unrecognizable in the most powerful way. Consistency is the quiet force that shapes a completely new version of you. People often imagine transformation as something dramatic, an overnight shift, a burst of motivation, a sudden breakthrough. But real change doesn't arrive in a lightning bolt. It arrives through small, repeated actions done over and over, long after the excitement has faded. Consistency is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It's not loud, but it is unstoppable. And it is this steady, disciplined commitment that eventually makes you unrecognizable from who you once were. Most people wait for motivation to strike before taking action, not realizing that motivation is temporary and emotional. It rises and falls like the weather. One day you feel inspired, the next day you feel tired. One week you feel unstoppable, the next week you feel distracted. If you rely on motivation alone, your progress will always be inconsistent, and inconsistent progress leads to inconsistent results. Transformation requires a different approach. It requires commitment even when your feelings don't cooperate. Consistency means showing up when you don't feel like it. Waking up early even when the bed feels warm and comforting. working on your goals even when the world is busy, practicing your skills even when there's no applause, choosing discipline even when temptation knocks. These small decisions, repeated daily, accumulate into remarkable progress. Over time, they reshape your habits, your mindset, your identity, and ultimately your life. What people don't always see is that consistency builds momentum. The more you do something, the easier it becomes. The first day feels hard, the second day feels uncomfortable. But by the 10th day, you begin adjusting. And by the 30th day, you begin transforming. What was once difficult gradually becomes natural. What once required effort begins to feel like part of who you are. This is how habits are formed, by repetition, not by momentary bursts of energy. Consistency also builds trust within yourself. Each day you show up, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who keeps promises to yourself. This inner trust becomes a source of strength. It strengthens your confidence, sharpens your discipline, and deepens your resilience. When you break promises to yourself repeatedly, you weaken your self-belief. But when you honor your commitments, even in small ways, you shape a stronger, more reliable version of yourself. A consistent person becomes powerful in ways the inconsistent person never experiences. They develop patience because they understand that progress takes time. They develop resilience because they've endured the early struggle. They develop clarity because they've spent enough time working on their path to see where it leads. They develop self-control because they've trained their mind to act out of commitment, not comfort. Transformation through consistency is not loud. It doesn't seek attention. It doesn't announce itself. It quietly builds brick by brick. And then one day, people who haven't seen you in months notice something different. Your discipline, your confidence, your maturity, your strength. They ask what changed, expecting a dramatic story, but the answer is simple. You stayed consistent. You didn't quit when it was hard. You didn't stop when you felt uninspired. You kept going. Consistency is the invisible tool that separates dreamers from achievers. Dreams may give you direction, but consistency gives you results. When you live with consistency, you transform in a way that even you may not notice at first. But slowly, steadily, undeniably, you become unrecognizable. Not because of one massive change, but because of 1,000 small ones repeated with dedication. Self-respect grows from the simple but powerful act of keeping promises to yourself. It is easy to keep promises to others because there is accountability, expectation, and the fear of disappointing someone. But the promises you make to yourself are private. No one will know if you break them. No one will question you. No one will judge you. And that is precisely why they matter the most. The relationship you build with yourself becomes the foundation of your discipline, confidence, and inner strength. When you keep your word to yourself, you communicate to your mind and heart that your goals, desires, and growth are worthy of respect. Many people struggle with self-doubt, not because they lack ability, but because they have repeatedly watched themselves quit. They have said they would wake up earlier, but didn't. They have said they would stop overthinking, but didn't. They have said they would chase a dream, but gave up the moment challenges arrived. Each broken promise weakens the belief they have in themselves, slowly eroding confidence. When you cannot depend on yourself, your inner world becomes fragile. No amount of motivation or external encouragement can fill that gap, because the trust you need is internal, not external. True self-respect begins to grow the moment you start treating your own commitments as valuable. When you decide to do something and actually follow through, you strengthen your inner identity. You begin to see yourself as someone capable, reliable, and disciplined. Even if the step is small, reading for 10 minutes, exercising for 15 minutes, practicing a skill for a short period, it builds momentum. Consistency in small promises leads to confidence in bigger ones. Keeping promises to yourself also shapes your behavior. When you commit to showing up for yourself, your choices begin aligning with the person you want to become. You stop wasting time on things that drain your energy. You stop entertaining habits that slow your progress. You stop allowing people who disrespect your value to stay close to you. Self-respect naturally sets boundaries, not because you force them, but because you rise to a level where anything that threatens your growth is no longer acceptable. Every promise you keep becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. It teaches your mind discipline, your emotions stability, and your spirit resilience. And slowly you begin to trust yourself deeply. This trust becomes the anchor during difficult days. When motivation fades, trust holds you steady. When challenges arise, trust reminds you of everything you have overcome. When opportunities appear, trust gives you the courage to step forward confidently. Another powerful aspect of keeping promises to yourself is how it reshapes your internal dialogue. Instead of saying, I can't do this, you start saying, I'll try. Instead of thinking, I always fail, you begin thinking, I'm getting better. Instead of viewing yourself as someone who quits, you begin seeing yourself as someone who follows through. This shift in self-perception is the heart of transformation. You begin to operate from self-belief rather than self-doubt. Over time, the results of keeping promises to yourself become visible in your posture, your attitude, your discipline, your patience, and your clarity. Others may not know the invisible battles you fought, but they will see the strength you've built. They will notice the calmness in your decisions, the confidence in your voice, the purpose in your actions. And whether they understand it or not, that transformation began with the quiet decision to respect yourself enough to honor your commitments. When you consistently keep your promises to yourself, you rewrite the story of who you are. You stop being someone who hopes to change and become someone who creates change. You become unrecognizable even to your former self, not because of luck or magic, but because you finally chose to trust, honor, and respect the person in the mirror. Letting go is one of the most powerful steps in the journey of transformation. Every person carries weight, old habits, broken relationships, past failures, regrets, and fears that silently holds them back. This weight doesn't just slow progress, it shapes your identity. If you allow the past to remain attached to you, it becomes the lens through which you see yourself and the world. It convinces you that growth is impossible, that change is too difficult, or that you are unworthy of better things. To become unrecognizable, to truly evolve, you must learn to release everything that no longer serves your higher purpose. Letting go begins with awareness. You need to recognize the parts of your life, the patterns, and even the people that drain your energy or limit your growth. Often people cling to what is familiar, even if it is unhealthy, because familiarity provides a false sense of comfort. The fear of loss keeps them tethered to situations that suppress their potential. Letting go requires courage to choose discomfort over stagnation, the courage to prioritize growth over attachment, and the courage to embrace uncertainty in pursuit of a better version of yourself. Old habits are one of the heaviest burdens to release. Habits form silently over time, and even when you know they harm you, you may find it hard to break free. Habits of procrastination, negative thinking, overthinking, or self-sabotage can keep you locked in the same cycle for years. Letting go of these habits means replacing them with constructive routines, one small step at a time. It is not a single act of will. It is a daily commitment to practice new behaviors and to consciously redirect your energy toward actions that align with your vision. People who are toxic or unsupportive also need to be released. Relationships can either elevate or weigh you down, and those who drain your energy often do so unconsciously. Letting go does not mean resentment or anger. It means protecting your own growth by setting boundaries and distancing yourself from those who hinder your progress. Some people may never understand your journey, and that is okay. And that is okay. Your life is not meant to be a reflection of their approval, but a manifestation of your purpose. Removing negativity from your environment creates space for growth, focus, and clarity. Fear and past failures are often the hardest things to let go of because they feel deeply personal. You may carry memories of mistakes, regrets, or missed opportunities as proof that you cannot succeed. But every failure is a teacher, and every fear is a signal pointing toward areas where you need courage. Letting go of these emotional burdens does not erase them, it reframes them. It allows you to learn, grow, and move forward without being trapped in old narratives that limit your potential. Letting go is not a one-time event. It is a continuous process. Life will constantly challenge you with new distractions, setbacks, and attachments. Each time you consciously release what is unnecessary or harmful, you reclaim your power. You clear your mind, focus your energy, and make room for opportunities, wisdom, and growth. This deliberate act of release strengthens your resilience and creates a lightness that attracts progress and success. The most profound transformation occurs when letting go becomes natural. You no longer cling to what is past, and you no longer fear what is unknown. You live fully in alignment with your purpose, free from the chains of history, toxicity, and limiting beliefs. People begin to notice a change. They see your confidence, your clarity, your focus, and your calmness. And inside, you know that this unrecognizable version of yourself exists because you had the courage to let go, embrace growth, and step into the life you were always meant to live. Transformation is not a single event, it is a lifestyle. Many people believe that change happens in dramatic moments, a decision made, a speech heard, or a failure experienced. But true transformation is cumulative. It is the result of repeated choices, consistent actions, and a sustained commitment to align your daily life with the person you want to become. It is not something you switch on one day and off the next. It is a continuous, intentional process, and this understanding is what separates temporary improvement from lasting, unrecognizable growth. Living transformation as a lifestyle begins with awareness of your habits and routines. Every action you take, no matter how small, is a step toward or away from the person you aspire to be. Choosing to wake up early, to prioritize learning, to speak with kindness, to control your emotions, to avoid distractions, these choices, when made daily, compound over time. They are the invisible threads that weave the fabric of your new identity. Transformation is not an occasional burst of effort. It is the quiet persistence of doing the right things, even when no one is watching. A lifestyle of transformation also means embracing discipline over motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes depending on circumstances, energy, and mood. Discipline, however, is consistent. Discipline is showing up even when you feel tired, even when the path seems difficult, even when the rewards are not immediate. This steady commitment to your goals and values is what separates someone who talks about change from someone who actually embodies it. Over months and years, this discipline reshapes your care, your habits, and ultimately the trajectory of your life. Another important aspect is the mindset of continuous improvement. Transformation as a lifestyle requires you to see life as a series of lessons rather than a series of obstacles. You begin to welcome challenges, failures, and criticism as opportunities to grow instead of threats to your ego. You analyze your actions, learn from your mistakes, and adjust your approach without losing momentum. This mindset allows your growth to be fluid and resilient. Setbacks no longer define you, they refine you. Sustaining a lifestyle of transformation also requires intentionality in what you allow into your life. The people you surround yourself with, the content you consume, the environments you choose to inhabit, they all influence your evolution. By intentionally curating your life to support growth, you ensure that every day contributes to building the unrecognizable version of yourself. This is why transformation is not just about effort. It is also about alignment. Your actions, your thoughts, and your surroundings must all be harmonized toward your higher purpose. A lifestyle of transformation demands patience. It is easy to become frustrated when results are slow or invisible. Yet the most profound changes often occur beneath the surface, unseen until they are fully formed. Just like a tree grows its roots deep before its branches reach high, your daily commitment nurtures the foundation of your future success. Patience allows you to trust the process, to continue investing in yourself, and to remain consistent even when the path feels long. Finally, living transformation as a lifestyle makes your change unshakable. It is no longer about short-term victories or temporary discipline. It becomes a part of who you are. Your habits, mindset, and choices naturally reflect your evolution. People who knew the old version of you begin to notice a difference in your confidence, your energy, your decision-making, and your presence. You become unrecognizable not because you forced yourself to change overnight, but because you chose to commit to transformation every single day. The lifestyle of growth does not end. It continues to refine, expand, and elevate you indefinitely. The 11th key to becoming unrecognizable and building a new you is embracing the power of self-belief. Nothing transforms a life faster than the conviction that you are capable of growth, change, and greatness. Self-belief is not arrogance or blind optimism. It is the deep-rooted understanding that you have the ability, resilience, and intelligence to navigate challenges, overcome failures, and create the life you desire. Without this internal conviction, every lesson, every habit, and every effort loses its full impact because doubt silently sabotages action and consistency. Self-belief begins with your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself shapes your reality. When you constantly say, I can't do this, or I'm not ready, you are planting seeds of doubt that grow into limitations. Conversely, when you say, I will learn, I am capable, or I can try again, you nurture the confidence needed to take risks, face obstacles, and persist through setbacks. The mind is like fertile soil. It will grow whatever you plant in it. Believing in yourself is the act of planting seeds of possibility that over time produce the fruits of achievement. Another dimension of self-belief is trusting your journey. Many people abandon their goals at the first sign of difficulty, assuming they are incapable or that success is beyond their reach. But life's challenges are not proof of inadequacy. They are proof that growth is happening. Every failure, every criticism, every obstacle is a test of your commitment, patience, and resilience. When you believe in yourself, setbacks are no longer deterrents. They are stepping stones. You learn to see them as feedback rather than judgment, guidance rather than punishment. This mindset allows you to continue moving forward even when the path seems uncertain. Self-belief also empowers you to make bold decisions. It removes hesitation and fear from the equation because you trust your own judgment. You stop waiting for permission or validation from others, and you start taking responsibility for your choices. Decisions become deliberate rather than reactive, aligned with your purpose rather than influenced by fear or outside opinion. This independence accelerates transformation because it ensures that your energy is invested in actions that truly matter to your growth. Importantly, self-belief does not mean ignoring reality. It is not about pretending challenges don't exist. It is about believing that you have the inner resources to handle them. It is the combination of confidence and preparation, courage and strategy, optimism and action. People with self-belief are not reckless. They are resilient. They fall, they fail, they face rejection, but they rise stronger each time. This resilience makes them unrecognizable to their former selves and to anyone who once underestimated them. Self-belief grows through repeated proof. Each time you follow through on a commitment, overcome a difficulty, or take a step outside your comfort zone, you strengthen this internal trust. You begin to realize that your fears are often exaggerations, that your limits are often illusions, and that your potential is far greater than you imagined. Gradually, belief in yourself becomes automatic. It no longer requires conscious effort. It becomes part of your identity, shaping your choices, your actions, and your presence in the world. Ultimately, embracing self-belief completes the transformation process. All the habits, discipline, emotional control, and consistency you've cultivated find their purpose in this key. Without belief in your own capability, progress is fragile, temporary, and vulnerable to external pressures. With belief, however, every step you take, every challenge you overcome, and every success you achieve reinforces the unrecognizable new you. Self-belief is the foundation, the fuel, and the force that ensures your transformation is not only possible, but unstoppable. The 12th key to becoming unrecognizable and building a new version of yourself is embracing responsibility for your life. Transformation is not something that happens to you. It is something you actively create. Many people wait for external circumstances, other people, or luck to improve their lives. They blame situations, criticize the world, and hope that change will arrive from the outside. True growth, however, begins the moment you stop looking outward for solutions and start taking full responsibility for your actions, decisions, and the direction of your life. Taking responsibility means acknowledging that your current reality is the result of the choices you have made, both conscious and unconscious. It does not mean self-blame, guilt, or shame. Instead, it is an honest understanding that you have the power to influence your future. Every habit you maintain, every thought you entertain, every decision you defer contributes to your present circumstances. When you accept this truth, you stop giving away your power to excuses, circumstances, or other people, and you begin reclaiming control over your growth and destiny. So, responsibility also involves ownership of your emotions. Many people allow external events to dictate how they feel, reacting impulsively to challenges, criticism, or setbacks. They blame stress, anger, or disappointment on others rather than recognizing their role in managing their responses. When you embrace responsibility, you realize that your emotional state is largely under your own control. You learn to pause before reacting, to respond instead of reacting, and to choose responses that align with your goals and values. Emotional ownership creates inner freedom and resilience, two qualities essential for becoming unrecognizable. Another critical aspect of responsibility is accountability for your goals and dreams. Transformation requires action, not just intention. You must hold yourself accountable for the consistent steps you take or fail to take toward building the life you desire. Procrastination, distraction, or indecision are forms of avoidance that delay growth. By accepting responsibility, you eliminate excuses and begin creating a structured, purposeful approach to your life. You develop systems, routines, and habits that ensure progress, and you measure your success by your own standards rather than seeking validation from others. Embracing responsibility also strengthens your ability to learn from mistakes. Life will inevitably challenge you, and setbacks are unavoidable. When you take responsibility, you stop blaming others or circumstances and instead ask, what can I learn from this? You analyze your decisions, identify patterns, and make adjustments to improve. This mindset turns failure into fuel for growth, making each challenge a stepping stone rather than a roadblock. The more you take ownership of your mistakes, the faster and more profound your transformation becomes. Formation becomes. Responsibility is empowering because it shifts the focus from being a victim of life to being the architect of your destiny. It eliminates passivity and inspires proactive action. Every choice, no matter how small, becomes significant because it directly shapes your future self. When you consistently embrace responsibility, you stop drifting through life, reacting to circumstances, and instead start designing your path step by step with clarity, purpose, and intentionality. Ultimately, embracing responsibility ensures that your transformation is real and lasting. It is the moment you stop waiting for life to happen to you and start making life happen through your thoughts, choices, actions, and discipline. Responsibility is the force that converts dreams into reality, effort into results, and intention into identity. When you live with full ownership of your life, you become unrecognizable not because someone else changed you, but because you deliberately chose to evolve into the person you were always meant to be.